involving the relationships men and women have surrounding sexuality, spirituality, intimacy, and spirituality. No, yeah, you said she wants to emphasize that. She teaches her clients to tap into and integrate sensuality and sexuality as pathways into their deepest wisdom, harnessing their own transformational power, embodying aliveness, experiencing more freedom, and feeling more powerfully effective in every aspect of their life by aligning body, heart, mind, spirit, and soul.
I'm still thinking about the whole buttered toast thing. Thinking, well, it's the bread by itself, just warm out of the oven. Does it for me. I don't even need the butter. So, I'm just looking at everybody first, because that's something that we forget to do when we talk about sex, is to actually look at the person we're going to have this conversation with. So, part of what I do is I help people talk about sex in ways that they've never talked about before. And I was talking to my friends here, so I'm going to start this with a quick little story. So part of what I do is I also teach other therapists how to become sex therapists. And a week ago, I was teaching a class where a young woman looked at me and said, "Thank God you're the one teaching today." Because I had a client say a word to me, and I froze. I didn't know what to say. And I said, "Well, what was the word?" She said, "Masturbation." I said, "Well, if you're going to work with people and you're going to work in the area of sex, you better get used to hearing that word and saying that word." So what did we do? We went around, everybody looked at each other in the eye and said, "Hi, masturbation." I masturbate, you masturbate, we all masturbate. Right? Show of hands, who's ever done that? Thank you. Right? I raise my hand. So we're going to talk first about attraction, because attraction is something that always possibly can lead to sex, right? At least that's the hope. Attraction is that thing that's biological in us. It's where our reptile brain takes over and says, "That's what I want." It doesn't have to make sense, right? Some of us like chocolate ice cream, some of us like vanilla ice cream. We don't sit there and go, "Well, why? Why is it that I can't change my mind about this?" We accept it and move on. So attraction happens when we see something, we smell something, right? We touch something, and our bodies respond to it in ways that we may not be able to control. So how much fun is it when we meet somebody and we have that instantaneous spark, right? It's a story of legends. People have gone to war over attraction. Attraction is what makes us want to come back over and over again. This is what falling in love feels so good, because attraction is about noticing how I feel when I'm in the space with somebody else, right? And if we're lucky, we get to spend more time with that person, and we actually get to have sex with that person. Maybe we even masturbate together, right? What happens then is, the closer we get to somebody, the more vulnerable we become. And when vulnerability shows up, what happens is we start to get worried. What if this person doesn't like me anymore, right? What if this person doesn't enjoy something that I have to bring? So that leads us to the second part, which is intimacy. Now, how I teach intimacy can be, or it can be without sex. Intimacy is about emotional intimacy. Intimacy is about into me, I see. So the more I'm able to share about myself, the more I invite my partner to do the same thing. Now we get to relate to one another. I also like to call this the "I don't shave my legs every time I see you" stage, right? And for men, it's the "oh, I farted in front of her and she didn't run," right? So this is when we start not being so perfect, because attraction, unfortunately, has us be perfect in front of the other one, right? Don't you remember the first dates you had, how prepped up you went? Some of you did actually shave your legs. Some of you even ironed your clothing, right? Because attraction has that bit to it. Intimacy is about showing up as we are. Well, that gets a little scary when it comes to the third part of this, which is sexual alchemy. Now, I've named it sexual alchemy because it's not about sex one way. It's about being fully sexually alive and present. Sexual alchemy is when we have a conversation that begins with, one very powerful word: no. One of the things I've learned, because I'm one of those crazy sex therapists that really does go out and push her own buttons to see how far I can go with things. So one of the things I've done is gone into this whole tantric thing. I don't know if some of you are familiar with that. I'm sure there were quite a bit here that have been there. And what I learned there was the most powerful lesson ever in sexuality. It's to know my no. To know what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing not to do with no explanation. Because it's the most self-honoring thing I can do. So then when I say yes to something, it's a heartfelt yes. It's a heart-opening yes. And then our partners have the ability to invite us to things knowing we're going to be honest with them. And we're going to be excited when they bring something that we actually enjoy and want to do. Now here's the problem with sexual alchemy and our no's. When we're in that space of attraction, we forget our no's, right? Because we don't want to ruin the fantasy, the perfect chemistry that's happening. So we let things go. We do things because, well, I don't want to disappoint him, or I don't want her to be upset with me. So then later on, when we're trying to rectify, what occurs is that we start shutting down. Our heart space starts to shut down. And when we do that, well, one of the first things to go is our sexual attraction to the other person. Because then it becomes about who's reciprocating and who's doing what to whom. Does all of this sound familiar to everybody? How many of you have found yourself in that kind of situation? Yep, a couple fingers went up. Brave few out there. So now let me bring up what you can do. Because I'm one of those people that I love to talk about what we can do. If you want to bring back curiosity, come back to yourself. Be curious about what you enjoy, what turns you on, what feels good, and then do the bravest thing you can ever do. Try it on for yourself. Then you go share it with your lover. Then you have a conversation about it, right? So when we learn to say yes to what we really want, because we've actually tested it out, we've actually committed to it, most partners are willing to go on and say yes with us. So I heard the bell ring. So.
Oh, well, you got a minute.
Oh, I got a whole minute.
Well,
or I
probably
could do
40 seconds.
40 seconds. All right. So here's my number 2 tip that I would say. So you got my first one. The number 2 is this. Ready? Be kind to yourself. A lot of people call me wondering 2 things. Is what I'm going through normal? And number 2, will I ever get back what I had before? Number 1, my answer is always, if you're going through it, it's normal. It's absolutely normal. But we unfortunately don't have that education. We don't get served in that way. Most of us get reproductive anatomy, not sexual or pleasure physiology. It's 2 separate worlds. The second thing I get asked again is, can you help me? It's about being honest. Being very honest with yourself. And the second piece of that is forgiveness. Your willingness to forgive yourself for not having been honest before, for not having shared of yourself fully. And third, for buying into any misconceptions about what sexuality means, right? Most of us don't get taught these things. I had to go out and get 2 masters and a whole other certification to go through this, right? Be curious, be compassionate, be loving, be kind, be forgiving to yourself, so that when you come to your partner, you come to a whole new heart space with them. And that is how you get all 3 back in the relationship. Attraction, intimacy, emotional intimacy, and number 3, sexual alchemy. The alchemy of everything you both have gone through, both as individuals and as a couple.